Part 1. A Life I Didn't Choose. Hello, my dear listener. Today I want to tell you a very personal story, the story of my life. You may think I had everything, beauty, money, comfort, and maybe you're right, from the outside. But life is not always what it seems. I was born into a rich and powerful family in England. My father is the owner of many companies. My mother comes from an old, noble family. Our house looked more like a castle than a home. I had everything money could buy, dresses, shoes, toys, even my own horse. But deep inside, something was missing. This story is about my journey, about a girl who was expected to be perfect, who had to smile, dress well, study hard, and marry the right man. A girl who was supposed to become the queen of a business empire. But life doesn't always go the way others plan for you. Sometimes you follow your heart, even when it breaks everything around you. This story is not just about choices. It's about love, pain, freedom, and horses. Let me take you back to the very beginning, to the day I was born. Part 2. The Golden Cage. I was born on a cold morning in December. The snow covered the world like a soft white blanket, and the air smelled of wood smoke and fresh bread. My parents gave me the name Isabella Rose. It sounded elegant and strong, just like they wanted me to be. Our house was in the countryside, but it wasn't a simple country house. It was a grand estate with tall windows, long halls, and old paintings on the walls. There were maids who cleaned, cooks who made perfect meals, and drivers who took us everywhere. I never had to ask for anything. Everything appeared before I even knew I wanted it. But the house felt cold, not just because of the stone floors and high ceilings. It was cold because my parents were always busy. My father was always on the phone or in meetings. My mother travelled often, attending parties and events. I had nannies, tutors, and instructors, but I missed something I couldn't explain back then: warmth. My favourite place in the world was not the big house. It was my grandparents' farm a few hours away. Every summer they took me there. The air smelled of hay, apples, and sunlight. The walls were covered in ivy, and the wooden floors creaked when you walked. There were chickens in the yard, cows in the barn, and horses in the fields. And that's where I met her, my first real friend. Her name was Bella, a chestnut mare with kind eyes and a wild spirit. I was only 6 years old the first time I touched her soft nose. She looked at me like she understood me better than any person ever could. I started visiting the farm more often. I helped feed the animals, carry buckets of water, and clean the stables. I didn't care that my hands got dirty or that my fancy shoes were ruined in the mud. I was happy, truly happy. My grandparents taught me simple things: how to plant a seed, how to listen to the wind, how to respect every living creature. Money can't teach you how to be kind, my grandfather used to say. I didn't understand then, but I never forgot those words. When I turned 10, my father decided it was time for me to prepare for my future. He enrolled me in one of the most expensive private schools in England. I wore a navy blue uniform and studied Latin, philosophy, and economics. The school was full of girls like me, rich, polite, quiet. But I didn't feel like them. I didn't want to become a businesswoman. I didn't want to marry someone with a famous name. I just wanted to ride horses. Every holiday, I ran to the farm. I rode Bella across the open fields, the wind kissing my face, the earth pounding under her hooves. I felt alive. I felt free. But my parents had other plans. Part 3. the breaking point. When I turned 17, everything began to change. My father invited me to his office one evening. The room smelled of leather and cigars. Tall shelves full of business books lined the walls, and the soft ticking of an old clock filled the silence between us. He looked at me with pride, but also with control, like a king looking at his heir. "You're almost an adult, Isabella," he said. "Soon it will be time for you to take your place in the family company. I've arranged a position for you in one of our branches. After that, we'll announce your engagement." I blinked. "Engagement?" He smiled. "James Whitford. The Whitford family has old blood, strong connections. You'll learn to love him." I felt the floor move beneath me. I tried to smile. I tried to be the perfect daughter. But my heart screamed. I wanted to run, to scream, to tell him I didn't want any of it. But I just nodded quietly and left the room. That night, I couldn't sleep. I looked out the window at the dark sky and thought about Bella, my horse, my real life. I thought about the fresh wind on the farm, the smell of hay, the sound of hooves in the dirt. I thought about who I really was. The next morning, I made a choice. I packed a small bag, a few clothes, a picture of me with Bella, and a notebook where I wrote my dreams. I left a short letter on my bed. "I'm sorry. I know this is not what you want, but I must find my own life. Please don't look for me." Then I left. I went to the only place that felt like home, my grandparents' farm. They were surprised, of course. My grandmother hugged me tight, and my grandfather said nothing, just looked into my eyes and nodded slowly. They didn't ask questions. They gave me a room, a warm meal, and a smile. For the first time in my life, I felt brave. I worked on the farm every day, feeding animals, fixing fences, riding Bella. I found a small local stable that trained racehorses, and I begged them to let me help. I cleaned stalls, brushed horses, carried heavy buckets until my arms hurt. No one knew my last name. No one cared. I was just another stable girl with a passion, and I was happy. But life didn't stay easy for long. One rainy morning, my father's car appeared on the dirt road. He stepped out wearing a dark coat, his face like stone. "I gave you everything," he said, "and this is how you repay me." I stood there, wet from the rain, my boots covered in mud. "You gave me a life I didn't want," I said. "Now I'm building one I love." His eyes went cold. "Then you are no longer my daughter." He turned and left. I stood there shaking as the rain fell harder. But I didn't cry, because even if I had lost my family, I had found myself. Part 4. A New Beginning. The weeks after that were the hardest of my life. I had no money, no name, no support. I worked long hours at the stable, often falling asleep on a pile of hay. But every morning I woke up with purpose. I was getting stronger, my hands rougher, my legs steadier, my heart braver. The stable owner, Mr. Green, was a tough man. He didn't trust people easily, but he saw how hard I worked. One evening, after I finished brushing down a nervous filly, he looked at me and said, "You're not just a rich girl running away, are you?" I shook my head. "I want to be a jockey." He laughed. "Do you even know how dangerous that is?" "I don't care," I said. "It's what I love." He watched me for a long moment, then nodded. "Come tomorrow at 5 a.m. We'll start your training." That was the beginning of my new life. The training was brutal. I woke before sunrise, ran for miles, lifted weights, learned to balance on a horse at full speed. I fell. I got bruised. One time I broke my arm, but I never gave up. The other riders were mostly men. They laughed at me at first, a girl with soft hands and shiny hair. But slowly, they started to respect me. I was small, light, and fast. I had good instincts, and I loved the horses. I still lived at the farm. My grandparents supported me quietly, giving me warm meals and calm words. They didn't ask questions, they just believed in me. One day Mr. Green handed me a form. "There's a local race in 2 months," he said. "You're ready." I stared at the paper. My first real race, my chance to prove myself. I signed my name. Part 5. The race that changed everything. The morning of the race. The sky was golden and soft with mist. My hands shook as I buttoned up my riding jacket. My helmet felt too tight, my boots too stiff. Bella, my partner for this race, stood calm and beautiful beside me. Her eyes were full of trust. She didn't know about nerves or fear, only about speed and freedom. At the track, the other jockeys looked sharp and focused. Some of them had been racing for years. I was the only newcomer. A few of them laughed when they saw me. "She's too small," one whispered. "Too soft," said another. "Too rich to get dirty," a third chuckled. I ignored them. The announcer called us to the gate. My heart pounded like thunder. I climbed onto Bella's back. I leaned forward and whispered, "We can do this, just you and me." The gate slammed open. For the first few seconds I couldn't hear anything but the wind. The world became a blur of colours. Green grass, white rails, dark horses, bright jerseys. Bella ran like the wind was inside her. Her muscles moved with grace and power. I felt her strength, her speed, her soul. I wasn't riding her. I was flying with her. But halfway through the race, we were boxed in. 2 horses ran on either side of us. We had no space. I felt panic rise in my chest. The finish line was still far, but we were trapped. I remembered Mr. Green's words. "A good jockey doesn't fight the horse. She listens." I closed my eyes for a split second and trusted Bella. She saw the opening before I did. A small gap appeared, and she pushed through like a flash. We moved forward, past one horse, then another. The crowd began to scream. I heard my name, my real name, Isabella Rose. In the final seconds, Bella gave everything. Her legs burned, my heart raced, and then we crossed the finish line. Silence, then the roar of the crowd. I had won. Tears streamed down my face as I hugged Bella's neck. People rushed to us, officials, trainers, strangers. Cameras flashed. Mr. Green ran up to me and grinned. "You did it," he said. "You really did it." But I wasn't thinking about the prize money or the trophy. I was thinking about that moment, the wind in my face, the fire in Bella's heart, and the freedom in my soul. That day changed everything. Reporters wanted interviews, magazines asked for stories, race organizers sent invitations. For the first time in my life, I wasn't someone's daughter. I wasn't someone's future wife. I was just me, and I was enough. Part 6. The long road home. The months that followed were full of hard work and big changes. I joined more races, travelled across the country, and trained harder than ever. People started calling me the girl who chose the saddle. I laughed the first time I heard it, but deep inside I felt proud. Still, some days were heavy. I missed my family. I missed my mother's soft voice, even if it was often distant. I missed the smell of my childhood room. Sometimes I even missed the cold silence of our big house. One day, after a race in the south, I received a letter. The handwriting was familiar. My hands trembled as I opened it. "Isabella, I saw your name in the paper. I watched your race. You are beautiful. Your father is still angry, but I am not. I hope you are safe. Love, Mother. I read the letter again and again, my eyes full of tears. It wasn't a full apology, but it was a door, slightly open. Later that year, I returned to the old estate, not to ask for forgiveness, just to visit. The place looked the same. Grand, cold, perfect. My father didn't speak to me. He walked past like I was a ghost, but my mother stood at the top of the stairs. Her eyes were soft. She walked down slowly and hugged me without a word. That was enough. Part 7. What I learned. Now, years later, I look back at my life. The girl I was, the woman I became. I learned that freedom is not given. It's taken. With courage, with pain, with love. I learned that choosing your own path is scary. People will judge you. Some will leave you. But if you listen to your heart, you will find your place. And I learned that horses, wild, beautiful, brave, can heal the deepest wounds. I never became the queen of my father's empire. I became something else. A rider, a woman who ran free. Part 8. Thank you. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it touched your heart. If you enjoyed this journey, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more stories like this. Maybe someone you know needs to hear that it's okay to choose a different path. And remember, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, your dreams are worth fighting for. See you next time, and ride free.